So now let us discuss about the characteristics of underdeveloped economies. Simply we can say them as the characteristics of underdevelopment. So what is the meaning of characteristics of underdevelopment? In the sense how the underdeveloped economies are behaving. Understanding their behaving through their characteristics is nothing but characteristics of underdevelopment. So if any economy is having these type of characteristics, you can declare that that particular economy is till to be developed. Simply you can say it as underdevelopment. So now let us go through what are the different characteristics of underdevelopment. Capital deficiency, low per capita income, economic inequalities, high population growth, lack of technology, huge unemployment, occupational distribution. These 7 can be considered as the characteristics of underdevelopment. Now let us go further into each one and discuss in detail. What is the meaning of capital deficiency? For example, check out an example here. One fellow wants to establish an industry and he needs nearly 10 crores as the initial investment, which can be called as capital. But he was able to only invest 6 crores which was in his hand. Then what is the deficiency here? If you subtract 6 from 10, you will get 4 crores. This 4 crores is the deficiency for that fellow to establish an industry in capital. Simply this 4 crores is the capital deficiency. Just I explained it to you considering only one person. Now consider a country. The government wants to establish some 100 or 200 industries during its planned period. For example, it wants to establish some 200 industries. For the establishment of these 200 industries, per 50 crores to each industry, totally it needs 1000 crores for the establishment of 200 industries. But it may just have only 400 crores as the availability. Then it lacks 600 crores to fulfill its plan, that is to establish 200 industries. So now the country is also facing some deficiency of around 600 crores. So you have been given one example. But this is not simply an example. It is happening in almost all the economies which are in underdevelopment. Those economies which wants to have some sort of development, they need to have instant generation of income. How the instant generation of income is possible? Only through high production through industries. So if you want to bring up the production on a large scale through industries, then you need to have a huge capital to run those industries. If you are not able to bring the capital, or if you are not able to accumulate the capital for the production in industries, then you won't be having a continuous generation of income. No, it is not possible. So it is a problem to all the economies to accumulate the capital necessary for the establishment of industries. Not only industries, consider India. India is having 3 different types of sectors: primary sector, industrial sector, services sector. Of course, we know than the agricultural sector, which is primary in nature, the other 2 sectors, industrial as well as services sector, which can be considered as secondary and tertiary respectively, are good in condition. Then the secondary as well as tertiary, it is the primary sector which is facing a huge problem of capital. In agriculture, the farmers are not able to have a satisfied capital to invest on the land and to go through the cultivation and harvest the crop. No, they are not able to have a good capital in their hands. They are going to loans and etc., which is not up to the requirement. And even though not compared with agriculture, the industrial sector is also facing the same problem. And this problem is continuing in even the countries which are in very low development. Then the other countries, India is now in a good development stage. soon it will reach the completely developed stage. If India is only posing such a problem, what about those countries which are not even having such a development? So, capital deficiency is a problem in underdeveloped economies, because if you are having some capital, then you can use it for having some profit. How you can get some profit? Through increased production. But for such a huge production, you definitely need huge capital. That is the problem in India. One, capital deficiency. Of course, forgive me, I should not say that in India, in underdeveloped economies, because India is a developing economy almost to reach the developed stage. Unfortunately, we are also facing the same problem. But this is very severe in those countries which are under development. They won't have huge capital. Capital accumulation is a problem, and the adequate distribution is also another problem for countries which are in under development. One, you have to bring the capital to one place and organize it with equal importance or importance depending upon priority. But that is not possible in underdevelopment economies. Then let us go to the second one, low per capita income. What is this low per capita income? Simply, average income of an individual in a country is nothing but low per capita income. So, simply total income by total population in the country will give you the per capita income. Per capita income means nothing but average earnings of an individual in the country. So, if this per capita income is in a satisfied level or in a satisfactory level, that may be good for an economy. But when it is low in the sense the average earnings of an individual in the society are low, what it is leading to? It is leading to non-availability of fund for an individual to buy something. Then he will lose his purchasing caliber. When he is not having adequate amount in his hand, he cannot buy something which is necessary for him. Okay, if he wants some aeroplane, forget it. But definitely he needs some basic necessities. If he was not able to spend even on basic necessities, that is not going to be a good cause, or that is not going to be a good signal. Definitely that is a signal of underdevelopment. An individual in a country should be able to spend money for his basic necessities. Of course, this definition that he should be able to spend for basic necessities is going to change as he should be able to spend for his comforts. The number of comforts will be enjoyed by an individual are increasing, the same the development also. In the sense, if the number of comforts are increasing, the development of that individual will also increase. Remember, the comforts he is enjoying should be on his self-dependency, not by depending on any other. He should be able to bring money for that enjoyments or comforts, and he should enjoy them, not by borrowing from some other place. He should be able to earn money, and he should be able to comfortably spend that money for more comforts. Then he is in a good purchasing caliber. If that purchasing caliber is lacking even in his basic necessities, he is not a developed individual. He is an individual who is not at all having some development. So, if that income is less, low per capita income means the average earnings of an individual in one country are low. Low in the sense, maybe since it is an underdevelopment economy, very low, which is not letting him to spend some money for his basic necessities. If this is high, his average earnings will be more. So, he may be earning some 40 or 50,000 per month, high in the sense. Medium in the sense, some around 18 to 20,000. Even 15 to 20,000 is also not a problem. 15 to 20,000 rupees. Medium earnings. Than that, below than that, it is not a good sign. But remember, I am just explaining you it in the form of 50,000 per month or 25,000 per month or some 15 to 20,000 per month. But actually per capita income is calculated per year. The average earnings of an individual per year. If it is low, then he is not going to spend for his basic necessities. When he is not able to cope up his basic necessities, there is no development. So low per capita income is also definitely a sign of underdevelopment. So obviously it is a characteristics of underdevelopment. Third, economic inequalities. Economic inequalities in the sense, people who are of high incomes, rich, people who are having less income, poor. So if a country is having huge economic inequalities, that is not going to be a good sign. That is, wealth is concentrating only on some hands. It is not adequately distributed among all the people. Then what happens? Consider a village. There will be 100 people in that village. Assume there are 100 people. Only 10 people are earning some at least 2 lakhs per year by different means. 2 lakhs per year. So that 10 people will be in a good condition. Whereas the remaining 90 people, they are not even able to earn at least some 40,000 per year. Assume that one person is having at least 5 dependents on him, a family, his wife, his mother and father, his 2 children. So 5 dependents on him. If he is just earning some 40,000 per annum, among that 40,000 only, all the 6 should adjust themselves. Whereas consider a person who is earning some 2 lakhs. What is happening there? He will be also having only 6%. Sometimes those people who are earning will have less dependencies. Then he will have huge wealth accumulated in his hands. That means income is getting concentrated on some hands, whereas the income is not inadequate to others. So what happens? People are not having a equal distribution of money. Then some will have adequate consumption levels. Others may not have such consumption levels. That is going to affect their consumption nature, as well as if they are not able to consume at a good rate, it affects their health also. Totally it is going to disturb their lives. So economic inequalities should be as low as possible. In the sense, I agree it is necessary that the government should take a distribution of income among the citizens, as well as it should prevent huge concentration of wealth in some hands. But remember, if one is earning with his own methods, he should not be disturbed, but encourage him in a way that he will be able to give employment to others. So that will be a good method of distributing income among the people. Anyway, thus the economic inequalities should be reduced. Rich and poor should have good relations. Adequate distribution of income should be exist. Only then the economy will have a good development. Because this economic inequalities is also going to show difference in the opportunities received by rich as well as poor. Rich will receive many opportunities and comforts, whereas the poor will receive less opportunities and very less comforts when compared with the rich. So economic inequalities should be as low as possible. Next, high population growth. What is this high population growth? Simply, if the population is going on continuously increasing, the dependencies are going to increase. If the dependencies are increasing continuously, the production should also increase continuously, so that the growth rate of population can be compensated with the production that is increased. For example, if 100 people are increasing per annum, then the agricultural production also should increase by 100 units. Otherwise, it is not possible that the growth in population is compensated by the growth in production, crop production. If that is not happening, definitely there is a gap between the growth of the population as well as the crop harvest. Then you cannot supply the food adequately to all the people. So, for example, if you are arranging some food items of 50, the population also should be 50. Or if it is merely some increase by 3 and reached 53, the food of 50 people can also be shared by 53. That is not going to be a problem. But if the population is increasing by some 20 or 30, in the sense you arranged the food for 50, suppose you are the owner of a hotel, you arranged the food for 50 members and the people who came for consumption are 80. How can you arrange the food of 50 people to 80? Not possible. The same is happening in those countries like underdevelopment. What is happening there? The thing is, they are using the resources and they are creating opportunities for the people who are available. And the time that is used for arranging opportunities as well as other comforts, it is just assumed to be some 10 years. Okay, we'll think, yeah, there are some 10 lakhs people in my country. If I am able to arrange some 6 lakh opportunities, because we cannot assume that all the 10 lakh people are people who can work. There will be children, there will be women, there will be elders who cannot work. Remove them. So just consider some around 7 lakhs people are ready to work and they are ready to consumption at high levels. Then you have to arrange opportunities to those 7 lakhs people for work, as well as you should arrange some food for them for consumption. Then for 7 lakhs people, if you are able to arrange some 6 lakhs, even though that is not a good number, not a problem, 6 lakhs, it's okay. But the time that takes for you to arrange all the opportunities for them, just think 10 years. Okay, you arranged the 6 lakh opportunities, but unfortunately, by the time you completed the 10 years and arranged them the opportunities, the population increased by, and it became nearly the 7 lakhs or became some 11 lakhs. How can you fill that gap of 4 lakhs? So you cannot fill a huge gap of 4 lakhs. You cannot arrange immediately the opportunities for that 4 or 5 lakhs people who are additionally added. So if the population growth is not controlled, it is going to be a problem. More and more dependencies exist, they increase, the dependencies will increase. So what is that going to happen? Resources will not be able to cope up with the rise in the population. That is going to be a big problem. So high population growth should be controlled. Population growth should be at the satisfactory level. It should not be high. Remember. Then lack of technology is the another one. What is this lack of technology? See, than hard work, smart work is going to give good results. But for a smart work, you need to have some good thinking as well as some good techniques. If you are not having the technology, you cannot use your caliber completely as well as the caliber of the resources. You cannot completely convert the resources into a product. Then you are lacking something there. To avoid that lacking, you need to have some techniques or technology to increase the production and thus benefit out of a increased output. But for that you need technology. If you are not having technology, that is simply lack of technology, then you cannot go for fuller use of natural resources, or you cannot increase the quality of production, or you cannot increase the quantity of production. Sometimes than the hard methods, some technical methods will increase the quantity as well as the quality of production. So those countries which are in underdevelopment cannot use the technology because they will not have the technological information in their hands. They have to import it from some other countries, but it is incurring huge costs. If they are not able to import the technology by paying some huge cost, that is not going to bring some quality in their production, thus some quality in their lives. So technology is necessary for development. When there is no technology, that is lack of technology, development lacks. So lack of technology lacks development. So it is a characteristics of underdevelopment. Then sixth one, huge unemployment. What is this huge unemployment? Huge unemployment means, what is the unemployment first of all? Unemployment means nothing but there are some 20 people who knows how to work, but there are only some 12 jobs. So only 12 people can work. 8 people cannot work even though they are having the caliber of working as well as they know how to work. That 8 people who lacks work are called as unemployed people, and that is called as unemployment. Simply, unemployment can be defined as no work even though willing to work and having the caliber to work. That is what is called the unemployment. If that unemployment is huge, then the people who are employed, what happens when some person is employed? Just observe here. If he is working means simply not he is receiving some salary. He is working, thus he is receiving some salary and he is contributing somewhat to the production of the country. So if the unemployment is huge, means there is no work for huge people, then they are not going to contribute for the production or thus for the development of the country. The more the people are employed, remember the employed people should be willing to work and they should have the caliber to work. So the more the people are employed, the more the production, thus the more the economic growth of the country, thus the development of the country. If the people are not employed, in the sense unemployed, then they are not going to contribute anything to the production of the country. Then they are not going to help anything to the economic growth of the country. Thus they are not going to help anything to the development of the country. So unemployment is diminishing the development of the country. So definitely huge unemployment is a characteristics of underdevelopment. So the government should take care of arranging good opportunities of employment to the people who are having the caliber to work. Definitely that is going to help not only the people through their wages or salaries, but also the government through increased production. Then let us go to this occupational distribution. First, let me define what is the occupational distribution. Simply, occupational distribution means the concentration of people and their work in some available sectors of production is known as occupational distribution. What is that? Concentration of people and their work, their energy on those sectors of production is nothing but occupational distribution. They will have, some people will have some interest or concentration on some sector, and other people have their interest and concentration on other sectors. So the classified concentration or the difference in the concentration or interest of the people, the difference in the concentration or interest of the people on certain sectors of production is simply called as occupational distribution. But this occupational distribution needs a furthermore discussion. So I am using the board, so I am rubbing what are the other characteristics that are existing on the board. Now let us discuss about the occupational distribution. Simply, usually any country will have some different sectors of production. When they are divided on a broad scale, we define the available sectors of production as primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Primary sector, I want to just explain you with an example of India. Primary sector in India is agriculture and other allied sectors of agriculture. Secondary sector in India is industrial sector, and tertiary sector in India is services sector. Agriculture, because more and more number of people in India are dependent on agriculture. More and more number of people in India are dependent on agriculture. Whereas in industrial sector, which is secondary sector, around some 20 to 25% of the people are dependent on industrial sector. And the same, almost 20 to 25% of the people are dependent on services sector, that is tertiary sector. Here 25, here also around 25. If you add up both 50%, then what about the remaining 50%? That is, the remaining 50 or sometimes 55% of the people in India are dependent directly or indirectly on agriculture sector only. So now you understood what is occupational distribution. If we consider that the total number of people in India are some 100%, population who are having the caliber to work are 100%, then what is happening here? Around some 50 to 55% of the people are dependent on agriculture in India, and in industries around 20% of the people are dependent on industries, and some 20 to 25% of the people are dependent on services. 50% of the people are shared among industrial as well as services sector. Whereas 50 to 55% of the people are depending on agriculture. The more concentration of people is on agriculture. Remember? But unfortunately, the contribution of these three sectors to Indian national income is varying. How? In the past, like some 1960s or before 1960s, from independence to 1960s, the contribution of agricultural sector to national income, in the sense income and from agriculture is more in the total income earned. Remember, in the total income earned by India, the total income earned by India, the share of agriculture income is more in the past. So, if the people are depending more on this sector, that is not going to be a big problem. But now what happened? The share of income from agriculture in the national income of India has drastically came down. That means the income that is generated from the agriculture is not at a satisfactory level. When this is not giving some good income, why the people should depend on this? Even then, instead of finding other opportunities, the people are still depending on agriculture. 55%. In the past, around 65 to 75% of the people, 65 to 75% of the people are dependent on agriculture. 65 to 75% of the people are dependent on agriculture in the past. That is around in 1960s and before 1960s. Now gradually it is coming down, and now the people who are depending is not on a drastical downfall. Only from 65 it came 55, but the income is drastically fallen down. Simply, you know what it is resembling? What it is resembling? Just I would like to give you an example. Forget about ethics. I am giving you an example. Here forget about ethics. There are two people. One is an elder person who is almost having an age of 75. Another fellow is a young boy who is having some age around some 12 or 13 years. Okay. This 75-year person, he experienced everything in his life. He contributed everything for his country. He contributed everything for the production and development of his country. Now he is taking rest and he cannot contribute anything to his country. This boy who is around some 12 years old, he is the future wealth of the nation. Definitely, he is the future wealth of the nation. If he is grown with all the discipline and good skills throughout his coming experience in his life, he is going to give something to his nation. Okay, and once again I am warning you, remember there are no involvement of ethics in this example. This is just an example. Okay, now both are in necessity of oxygen. Both are in some hospital bed, so they need immediate oxygen for their survival. One is a 75-year-old older man who contributed everything and who experienced everything. Now he is taking rest and depending on some other people. Obviously they have to. And a younger boy of 12 years who is a future wealth of the nation. There is only one oxygen cylinder which can be used for any one of them. Remember, no logic here. The oxygen cylinder must be used for any one of them. That's all. Now, excluding the ethics, thinking logically, to whom we use the oxygen cylinder or to whom we have to use the oxygen cylinder? Definitely it is to the 12 years boy, because he has to experience much in his future, in his life, and he has to contribute much to the production of the country. If you use that oxygen cylinder to that older man, what is going to happen? He experienced everything in his life here, and this boy will lose his life. So we have to use that oxygen cylinder only for this boy who is going to have some future and who is going to have some chances of generating wealth and income to the country. Now just apply the same logic here. When agriculture is not able to generate some income, why we should allow the people to depend on agriculture? We should at least do two things. Either we should find the means and ways of increasing the production of agriculture and thus increasing the income through agriculture. But you have to remember one thing, that increasing the income from agriculture through increased production is not in, simply not it is in the hands of the humans, neither in the government hands. It is also in the hands of the climate. But you know, these days climate is not in a favorable condition to agriculture because of unseasonal rainfall and huge rains during the time of harvest. The agriculture is bringing some downfall, or it is in a decline in its production. So that is not going to give some adequate returns to the people who are depending on that. Then what we have to do? These two, industrial as well as services sector, directly dependent on the control of the humans. If we bring some new technology and increase the production increases. If we increase the quality of the product, demand to that product increases and production increases. If we are bringing some new technology or some new ways in services, and the income from services increases. These two are generating good income, but the people who are dependent on these two sectors compared with agriculture is not at a satisfactory level. We have to bring a shift among the interest of the people to work in industrial as well as services than in agricultural sector. So definitely occupational distribution, in which people are concentrating more on such sector which is not generating a good income, is definitely a characteristic of underdevelopment. Just observe one thing here. If you brought some shift among the people in agriculture to industrial and services sector, what happens you know? bring down the 55% people who are depending upon agriculture to some 30%. Some 30%. Then what happens, you know? The remaining 20 to 25% is there, no? That will go and have a shift either in industrial sector or in services sector, which is going to increase the production of industrial as well as services sector, and thus more income can be earned from industrial as well as services sector. But unfortunately, if we are continuing with the same pace, agriculture is not generating good income nowadays because there are many problems. The pollution is increasing, so the soil is losing its fertility. When the soil is not fertile, what happens? You cannot get good productivity from agriculture. And moreover, apart from that, because of the chemical fertilizers and other insecticides, etc., we are lacking a good harvest in the crop, and the climate is also not favorable to agriculture. Apart from all these reasons, you know one logic. Consider 1 hectare of land. If 10 or 15 people are working on 1 hectare of land also, it gives the same yield. If 40 or 50 people are working on the 1 hectare of agricultural land also, it gives the same yield. No difference. Because agriculture needs only seasonal assistance, not a continuous assistance. But unfortunately, what is happening there? 40 or 50 people are working on 1 hectare of land. What is the use? They are simply depending on that 1 hectare of land. But that is not going to bring them any additional profits. Even if 10 or 15 people are working on 1 hectare of land also, the same productivity. It is the humans who brought some problem to agriculture with increased comforts and increased pollution, etc. The continuous forest deforestation or continuous cutting down of trees is creating some ecological imbalance, which is creating unfavorable climate towards agriculture, and that is reducing the productivity in agriculture. So that is affecting the agricultural productivity. When such a condition is existing, and when we are not able to use any technology or by any means which are out of human control to bring some favorable or to arrange some favorable conditions to agriculture, then at least you should leave some of the people to agriculture to have good or adequate distribution of income, and you should make other people who are dependent on agriculture, over dependency on agriculture should be reduced, and they should be diverted towards industrial and services sector. If that is done, then that is going to give a good development. If that is not done, it is a sign of less development. And in those economies which are in underdevelopment, almost the same pattern of occupational distribution is existing. The people who are having the caliber to work and willing to work are concentrating and showing interest only on such sectors which are not going to generate any huge incomes or instant incomes. If there is a shift, they are going to generate good income and they are going to benefit out of it at a satisfactory level. But in underdeveloped economies, simply a characteristics of underdevelopment is unreasonable distribution of the people who are working in different production sectors. Unreasonable, unrealistic, which is not generating a good income. There they are going and concentrating more. Than that, if they are diverted to such sector where the production may increase depending upon the more number of people involving, that is going to give a good income to the nation. So thus we have completed characteristics of underdevelopment. Remember, if we are able to logically reverse the scenario, simply they are the characteristics of development. They are the characteristics of development. And the transformation stage from the characteristics of underdevelopment to characteristics of complete development is nothing but Characteristics of developing economies.